Okay, cool. I can hear you now as well. Excellent. All right.
2 minutes ago, I was in full PPE gear.
Nice.
Yes, boss.
I can imagine. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take us live if that's all right.
Okay.
All right. Let me just do it.
I won't try and share my RAM with with here and YouTube. I will use the Kickstarter.
Okay, cool. So going across. Right. Hello. Hello, everyone. This is Jay. And obviously I've been running the Kickstarter and how they handle things. And here's Douglas. Say hello, Douglas.
Hello, boss.
Long road, long road till this moment.
I can imagine. Yeah, been going. Phew. I mean, there's been all the time of all building legacy, all the time from there to this, and then all the stuff from that we'd be getting from this. It's I'm very excited to see what happens as a result when the we get the final game together.
Yeah. It has been interesting that people have started running the beta road, and the reviews have like were so positive because still a lot missing there from the game that we want.
Oh, definitely.
People haven't, yeah, people haven't played through Wonders in terms of ages. They have barely scratched the idea of quest. And Coma Arts, we gave them a very redux version. So amazing if that they like it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what has been your main surprise from this campaign, Douglas?
Mm. The main surprise. Well, I think that it was the partnership with Tabula Rasa itself. That was the main surprise, and the people's reception to a Powered by the Apocalypse game with a setting that's not that common.
Yeah.
Uh, we, we come with more lore, with a little bit more baggage than usual. So the reception was really cool,
Mm.
and that was the surprising part of the campaign and the game itself.
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the things we've got, yeah, that was definitely one of our challenges when we were dealing with Legacy. When moving from Legacy to this, is Legacy is a very open-ended game, very much a game where you can really build your setting as you like. And
Hmm.
we had a thing to handle with when we were going with a very determined setting, as you said. Um,
Hmm.
so I was wondering what you think. Well, how did you work around that? Would you say?
Well, it is that tricky, like razor's edge area where you have a setting, but I also think that people will have a lot of freedom and will enjoy a lot. The construction of Montara and the Borderlands and the Empire, those are all unexplored in the rest of the Mysthea universe.
Yeah,
And and I think that people will end up enjoying perhaps even more the idea of changing a setting that is already that has some lore already.
yeah,
They'll build
definitely.
upon that. So that can be surprisingly interesting.
Yeah. So we've got quite a few new guilds, well, houses added to the
Mhm.
game as a result of the Kickstarter. And one thing I'm really interested in is each of these houses is a different way to define the setting for a player group, a different sort of thing we
Mhm.
have to talk about. So I don't know what sort of if you could add your own sort of houses, your something else to the mix, what sort of aspects of setting would you want to explore more?
Uh, since the beginning, because of the freedom, I think I fell in love with the empire
Hmm.
and the region of Montara. So I think that we can expand more and more. Because think about that. The main game was supposed to be the houses sent to Montara to bring the king's peace to the region. But
Yeah.
nowadays, we can run a game only with houses and cabals that belong to Montara or them.
Yeah.
You can already like invert the act of the game and have a very different story in your hand.
Hmm.
So that's a surprise.
Yeah. One thing that I'm quite looking forward to working through is the unavowed order in the sort of revolution supplement, because they're pretty cool. They can be they can be a sort of remnant of the old state of Montara, which is fun.
Mhm.
They can be part of just a grounds roots uprising against the Ilvashan guilds, the occupation. But
Mhm.
they can also be a relic of the Empire that's sort of been left here as a sort of cut off cell. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see what people make of that, because you know we have completely free reign with the Empire. Well, player groups have pretty much free reign with the Empire
Mhm.
to do what they like with it.
Yeah. And it's interesting that we are building upon very fresh concept because, for example, the counterpart that we have like in this unavowed order would be the failed guardians from Legacy. That's the
Mm,
closest thing that we have, and the closest and the failed guardians were like the last one of the very last families built for Legacy. So it has already like a refinement that you gain in hindsight. You will build like rule upon rule and you make things more sophisticated and simpler at the same time. You gain experience doing this.
mm,
So getting all this tool set from Legacy, from the very basic families, just the merchant, to the very like versions, such as the failed gardens, and adding everything together in a cohesive whole,
yeah,
that that promises to be fun.
definitely. So we've got a few people hanging out now in the chat and that sort of thing. Do let us know if you have any questions about the game, about the world, about what you can expect from this project going forwards. But other than that, we'll just be happy to keep chatting about the game and our ideas. So
You-
I'm just thinking. No, you go for it. You go if you've got something to say.
no, the one thing that we ended up not adding, and I was kind of expecting to at some point, but there were so many options, was the pair of it was to deal with the art setting
The what setting?
more like the art of the set,
Ah,
more
yeah,
hands-on approach.
the
You know,
culture.
like Beacon and Eternal Masquerade.
Hmm.
You know, these adaptations to Mysthea, I think it could be really interesting because it is such an alien setting. What is their like? What do they do as a form of art? And I think that we would dig some very interesting concepts in this aspect. But who knows? Perhaps in a future supplement, I
Yeah.
think it could be really interesting.
I mean, maybe we'll have from our backers, we'll have concepts that line up with that. Maybe someone wants to make
Hopefully,
a House of Artists or a inspiring, creative character. That'd be cool. But the one
fingers
thing I
crossed.
really, really love about doing these things in our Kickstarters, these custom content tiers, is
Mm,
it's really great for the sort of breadth of concepts in the game, because someone will come in with something that you would have never thought of to put in the game, and
yeah.
it's exciting.
For me, the favorite one from the Legacy campaign to deal with, to think about, and to build was Tartarus Sight.
Mm.
Man, the article that was presented to us at the time as the basis for the wonder. That was so cool. That was so interesting, and to bring that to the game was a very pleasant challenge. Really, we had nothing to go on rule wise, just a cool concept and something that I have never really started to think about anything like that.
Yeah,
And it was a very interesting.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, so it'll be just really cool to see what comes out as a result of this. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, another thing I'm interested in, which is something that I've really enjoyed doing with our previous supplements for Legacy, was getting other people in to come and talk about their sort of ideas of stories and themes and things that players can really dig into to flesh out their game. And yeah, I'm really excited that we've been able to do that this time as well. Get another sort of good stable of writers involved. I can see Thea is in the chat for the video, and yeah, Thea is
Miss Thea.
yes, Miss Thea, indeed. Pretty sure she
Aw.
changed that to her display name to that on Discord. um, so yeah, I mean Thea is a academic historian, and she is going with an emphasis on things like wartime economy and that sort of thing. And she'll be talking to us about talking for us about how war changes an economy and how that changes in a fantasy landscape. What sort of considerations does the empire and the kingdom still have to consider as they go to war, and what ways they can, circumvent those with strange magics. So I'm very excited to see things like that. I mean, like, I'm a big believer in, getting people who are experts in a topic to come and write about that topic for you.
Indeed, definitely. I was thinking here. You know that one of my inspirations for a little bit of the mood, wartime,
Mm,
and the sacrifices and the front. It was the Great War, the First World War.
mm.
And do you know where I got this inspiration from?
I don't. Do tell.
From the UK, from
Okay.
the British monuments, the British reverence for everything related to it, the different sculptures of soldiers, memoirs everywhere, whole sections of cathedrals dedicated to the memory of the soldiers who fought in the Great War. It was there in the UK, watching your culture dealing with this, that I got this inspiration to write about this move, this specific move. So
That's
it was really like in the end of the year now.
yeah. God, that's really interesting because I don't really consider it, but now I think about it, yeah, we do have like monuments to the First World War like everywhere, really, in our places of worship, in our cities, in our just in our national, culture, and it's something that we're still very much obsessed with as a society. I think very much is a part of our national psyche. So that's cool. That's really cool,
Hmm.
and like it's something that I've tried to like when I've been running the game for people, I've tried to drill into this sense of like people putting up monuments or repurposing monuments, giving them new sort of use as markers for the newly fallen, that sort of thing, or re-establishing
Hmm.
national identity. I mean, it's like when we talked about defining what the empire is, how it occupies places. One of the things that the first ideas we had was that what the empire does is defaces monuments, defaces cultural
Hmm.
symbols, and makes them indelibly marked with the symbols of the empire.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I think that really ties into that.
I think we should try and schedule a visit to some old Roman towns in France or Spain for inspiration.
A research trip, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good research trip for sure.
Put it on company expenses.
I can go on this field trip.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can.
Let's maybe that's an extra stretch goal.
That wouldn't be a bad idea at all. Yeah, but the relationship between the empire, the leftovers of the empire, I think that people will have a lot of fun flashing that out
Hmm.
because we didn't. I think that Travis will work on the next few pieces of art for like the ones, the exclusive ones for the game. I think that he will work heavily on it. But so far, people have nothing on the Empire.
Hmm.
So how do they dress? How do they look like?
Hmm.
Like what ethnic group are they different? Are they different like their color of skin, their hairs, their accents, their whatever?
Hmm.
People will flesh that out in their game.
Yeah.
They
And you
will
see,
have to. And what will come out of it, I don't know, really.
yeah. I mean, actually, it's interesting that you bring that up because one of the things about Mysthea that I only really realised when I was starting to sort of commission art for it, talking to the Tabula people, is that they don't have ethnic markers in the same way that we do. Because everyone has grey skin, this ashen sort of skin, thanks to the weird influence of the mists and different, and very different styles of dress and culture. So one of the things that I'm really interested in this sort of talking about in the book is okay, so what markers of ethnicity or descent or community are there in the world? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the sort of thing that can be really useful for players to latch onto
Mm-hmm.
and really sort
Definitely.
of flesh out the world.
Yep. And you asked me about the concept that I would like to that I still miss in the game.
Hmm.
What about you? What are the playbooks that the ideas, the concepts that we you would love to pick up from Legacy and somehow adapt, change, evolve to Miss Thea?
Hmm. What do I want to adapt? That's God. I have to think about that.
It's a tough question.
It is a tough question. I mean, I'm sorry I asked it of you without asking. What I'm going to do? Sorry, I'm just messing up my Kickstarter tracker. Yeah, good enough. Sorry. There we go. Great recording. So I'll just have a look through my copy of Legacy. I know. I mean, we have a lot of wonders already written in Legacy, but I'm not sure how many of them are directly applicable to Mysthea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I think the architects might be an interesting thing to bring in. So, for those of you who weren't Legacy backers, what's their full name? The Architects of. Yeah. Anyway, the Architects were a sort of family level, a house level faction, all about building new environments, building new monuments, dealing with the ecology, that sort of thing. And I think that's quite an interesting niche to have in this world. When it's a world that's so sort of, I mean, like Legacy, it's a world that's very scarred, very hurt by what it's been through, and there's lots of things to rebuild. I mean, it's a game about rebuilding. That's what I put on the, on the page as its tagline in many ways. So yeah, it's
It
exciting.
is a it is a family that I think it was the first family I wrote for Engine of Life, and it is one that I really think it is has such a positive vibe.
Yeah.
They can change the world really, like for real. And I still see that like very few people playing online or playing in presential games with them.
Hmm.
They were not very represented yet by people playing them, and that's a shame because the stories that they can bring to the table, uh, I've tried and they are powerful. They're really. I'm a fan of eco punk, solar punk,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and that has a very strong influence on that. And I remember that I pastored Fraser Simons when he was writing the veil
Mm.
for something on Solar Punk,
Yeah.
and the end result it was the Wayward.
Okay.
And I looked at that, and I think that's not quite it. And then I started writing the architects,
Okay. Cool.
and
Of course, he's big
in
into
fantasy
that. Of course, he's big into solar punk and that sort of thing these days with his hack the planet and such. So maybe that's all thanks to you.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. But it is a niche, a corner of science fiction these days that we need to explore. We need to write about that. We need to discuss about that. To see a light in the end of the tunnel. It is through solarpunk.
Hmm.
It is.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, I'm looking out at my window and it's, glorious, far too hot than it should be for this time of year, spring day. And over in America, they've got blizzards that are far too cold than it should be for this time of year. And yeah, it's certainly something that we need to start thinking about.
What it is the far too hot outside for you right now?
What sort of temperature is like? Let's see. It's sort of like t-shirt weather, Oh, actually, currently. So you'll laugh at this. Apparently, currently it's 10 degrees.
Come on, we would be wearing like coveralls and gloves and everything in Brazil at 10 degrees. Outside is